What is going on in the stars? This last couple of weeks has been so intense. We are in eclipse season. In this video, I am going to break down this next eclipse that we're having on the 28th of October at 5 degrees of Taurus. I'm going to help you understand how that is impacting you directly by going through all 12 zodiac signs and giving a brief description of how this eclipse can be impacting you and some ideas for how you can work with that eclipse energy. We are also going to have another look at my favorite herbal oracle deck. I'll pull a card for your sign and give you some clues about what that card can mean for you and how you can use that plant medicinal energy in your life. So let's go ahead and get started by first having a look at the chart for the eclipse. I'm going to break the major things down, the major things being the most impactful parts of this eclipse chart so that you have a better understanding of what's going on collectively and how that might be impacting you personally. So, as always, an eclipse is going to be one of a few things. Well, one thing for sure is that a lunar eclipse is always going to be a full moon. So that means that the sun will be in one sign and the moon will be directly opposite that in a full moon. And some of the variables that we can have is that lunar eclipse, full moon, can be either with the moon on the south node or the moon on the north node. What we have now, which is what I'll talk about, is the moon on the north node. When the moon is on the north node, we have a surge of energy. There is an excess, a wave. This is a lot of energy going toward a particular topic. Now, the topic that we're working with is Taurus. So Taurus has to do with our physical body, with pleasure, with the earth, with our resources, finances, health. Taurus is going to be how we are in our bodies and how we feel secure and comfortable. I think of Taurus as, are you comfortable enough to rest? Are you comfortable enough to cuddle, to make love? So if you don't have a certain level of security, there are certain things that you will most likely not be doing. So with the north node being on this side of the eclipse, as opposed to when we last 2 weeks ago, we had that new moon with the sun and moon together on the south node. Those south node eclipses, and when the sun and moon are together, that is a new moon solar eclipse. When they're on the south node, they have the tendency to be more of a removal, of a draining of energy, a loss of something, something that is grabbing and taking things away. Judith Hill calls this a power outage. And the eclipse is on the north node, which is what we're having on Saturday, the 28th of October. Judith Hill calls this a power surge. Power surge does not necessarily mean that it's great or even that it's good, because sometimes that can be excessive. It can be too much. Well, with Taurus, what are we going to get? Too much money, too much pleasure, too much resources, too much beauty, too much luxury, too much comfort. So also we have Jupiter very close to this eclipse. You can see here on the chart. Can you see on the chart? You can see there Jupiter, and that's going to be at 11 degrees. And Jupiter is retrograde, means that it is getting closer to the moon while the moon is getting closer to Jupiter. So they're coming closer together at this time. Jupiter expands. Jupiter is like, I call Jupiter the good uncle or the good king who comes with bags of gold and the gold is spilling everywhere, or that uncle who when you're a little kid, gives you all the coins from his pockets and you're like, oh, good, my good uncle. That's like Jupiter, bringing more richness, fertility, abundance. In the sign of Taurus, we have this more growth, more fertility, more expansion of our connection of intimacy with the earth. So we're starting to see things as valuable that we didn't necessarily notice before. My friends, my ability to grow plants, the plants bearing fruit. These are actually very valuable things, skills that you have that you do with your hands. Your voice, the vibration of your voice that is soothing to your vagus nerve, the vibration of your voice where you always have yourself. Your voice is constantly comforting you. If you choose to use your voice in a comforting way, it empowers your body. This is a huge resource. And Taurus, being the sign that rules or has governance of the throat region, that is your resource. You can speak, you can use the sounds of your voice, and speaking is more of a like a mercurial thing, but the sounds, you don't even have to make words, you can hum. In the Tantra yoga practice, I did share a short video of something called uchara, where you're raising sound vibrations from different parts of your body and raising those vibrations up. That is a resource. So with Jupiter being in the sign of Taurus, we are discovering all sorts of different resources that we have and seeing things as valuable that we hadn't necessarily considered to be valuable previously. And so strangely, while all these things are going on in the world, Bitcoin prices are rising. And with the eclipse happening on the North Node in Taurus, Uranus, which has to do with technology advancements, being in the sign of Taurus, technological advancements that impact Earth and our resources, this all can be part of raising things. So raising the Bitcoin price, raising costs of living, cost of gas, all the inflation that we're having, we can see some increases in many of these Taurian areas of life. Another thing I want to mention is that Jupiter will be at 5 degrees of Taurus. This is the exact place that we're having the eclipse this week. Jupiter is going to be there for 1 whole month. I think it starts, it's either from November 15th to it's December 15th to January 15th. Jupiter will have retrograded back to 5 degrees of Taurus and will stay there right at this eclipse point. To me, when I see that, I'm thinking, okay, so whatever it is that we are graduating from with this Taurus eclipse, and I'll talk about that graduation a little bit more in depth in just a moment. But whatever it is that we are graduating from this experience of the eclipses, the North and South node being on the Taurus Scorpio axis, whatever that is, it is going to be magnified so greatly. Right around that 5 degree point, you want to see what planets that you have there at 5 degrees of Taurus, 5 degrees of Scorpio. And I personally also look at the 90-degree angles to Leo and Aquarius. So you'll want to have a peek at all of those 5 degrees of Leo, 5 degrees of Aquarius, 5 degrees of Taurus, and 5 degrees of Scorpio. Now, of course, the Taurus Scorpio axis is going to be impacted differently than the Leo and Aquarius axis. The Leo and Aquarius, so if you have something at, say, 5 degrees of Aquarius, it's the interaction is more of a challenge. So it's a 90-degree angle. So it's going to be irritating to whatever you have at that spot. I personally have my Venus right there at 6 degrees of Aquarius. So this 90-degree angle is going to be inflammatory to the Venus parts of my existence. Knowing that, I will engage appropriately. Knowing that, I can make different choices, and it is really gives a great calming peace of mind. So when I see the things show up in my life, I'm able to say, aha, okay, I know the instructions. I know what my mission is, and I will take actions that are more appropriate. All right, so another thing about this eclipse that is a little bit more challenging that I will talk about, you may have heard other people talk about this, is that Mars and Mercury are with the sun in Scorpio, making this huge oppositional energy between Taurus and Scorpio. Now, like I mentioned, a lunar eclipse is always a full moon. A full moon is always oppositional. And what my lovely, wonderful mentor, I love him so much, I can't even explain to you. He's helped me so much with astrology. That's my mentor, Daniel Jamario. What he says is with these oppositions, he calls it a resonant polarity. Resonant polarity. It sounds so much more resonant than calling it an opposition. So play around with that for yourself, especially if you have these resonant polarities on your chart. It does bring a different feeling to it. It's like a reframing of something that seems oppositional. It is oppositional and it is a resonant polarity. So we can look at these things from many different lenses, many different points of view. So let's talk about this for a moment. Mercury at 10 degrees of Scorpio at the time of this eclipse means that it's only a 5-degree orb from the sun. That's really close. So Mercury won't be visible because it's so close to the sun. And that is going to be bringing more of a form of communication that is flavored with Mars, because Mars is at 11 degrees, 1 degree away from Mercury. Inflammatory words. We have thoughts. Okay, first of all, Mars is our masculine force, the way that we are penetrating reality with our personal will. It is our ability to stand up and say something, to go get what we want, to have our desires be valid, and that we are able to get our physical body to move in the direction to get the thing we want. Mars is also how we stand up to a bully, stand up to an oppressor. It's how we take action to protect not only ourselves. Mars is a very hero-like energy, that it's like the thing that will make you stand up for somebody else. That is a Mars energy, taking care, fighting and protecting women and children, not fighting women, fighting for the protection of women and children, of the young and the old and the ones who can't fight for themselves, especially when Mars is in Scorpio. It is much more combative, but not combative in a typical Aries kind of way. An Aries kind of way is a lot more hot-headed and quick to react, whereas Mars in Scorpio is more calculated and more energetically manipulative. So knowing how to manipulate energy is a Scorpio gift. It's a talent and a skill that Scorpio has. So when we have Mercury and Mars together in Scorpio, there is this very strategic, like mentally calculated, analytical way to approach how we're going to protect women and children, how we are going to fight for the ones who cannot fight. Now, whew, when we see that so close to the sun at this eclipse, the sun energizes. It gives all the heat. It gives all the energy. And so now we see that in opposition or in resonant polarity to the Jupiter moon tight, close, not super, they're 6 degrees within a 6 degree orb, but that's exactly the orb that I use for my eclipse readings. It's right there. I will call that a conjunction. I will confidently call that a conjunction. This resonant polarity is going to be it's going to be pulling on our emotions, our sense of security in our physical bodies. It'll also looking around for what we have on hand that is valuable. What food supplies do I have? How do I purify my water? What devices do I have to purify my water? All these things that we have on hand in your home, in your there, you have access to them. It's not something that you have in your bank account. It is what you have on hand. Seeing the value of things that you have on hand and feeling a tension of something that feels like conflict, something that feels like a manipulative strategy to talk you out of your security. That's some of that opposition. Now, what I have been enjoying doing in my life as a Taurus rising, getting a nice dose of all of these eclipses happening right in my first house and in my seventh house, which is Scorpio. Something that I have been working on this entire 2 years is to notice when these big energies happen in my body and let them energize me so that my responses are full of my energy, that I didn't drain it through arguing with people. I didn't drain my energy through trying to convince anybody that of to convince them of my own validity or of my own anything. Because when you grab your emotional energy and direct it towards somebody, you're basically wrapping your energy up into a nice little package and giving it to somebody who now has your energy, who now has your power. So instead of doing that, I notice what's happening. What is the engagement? What is the interaction? What is the conflict? What is the Mars desire for a conflict? Seeing how I feel, letting that energy build up in my body and letting it energize me instead of me throwing it out either in a nice little package to the person, which would be like a text message or a finely worded email that I've spent time writing out, giving it to them, or me saying it or flipping them off or, doing something like that. I'm not doing that. Now I am just letting myself feel what I feel and letting it energize me. This has been the greatest gift for me personally with the Taurus Scorpio eclipses that started in November of 2021. So that is going to be something that I recommend for this eclipse. Okay, so anything else to talk about here? Oh, yes. Okay, so if you have anything at, let's say, between 5 to 11 degrees, I might even say 3 to 12 degrees of Leo and Aquarius, this eclipse is going to be triggering more of an inflammatory, irritating, like making you have to do something, making you have to take an action because it's a 90-degree angle. 90-degree angles require some action. It's like you have an itch and you need to scratch it, because if you don't scratch it, it's just irritating you. So it requires you to go up there and like do something to make a change. It is very much wanting you to make a change and to validate both things. So let's say that you have, let's just say that you have your moon at 11 degrees of Aquarius. And as somebody that one of my clients comes to mind, he actually has his moon at 11 degrees of Aquarius. So let's say that. And now we see that Jupiter is at a 90-degree angle to your moon. So you might be feeling the urge, the wanting to have fertility, maybe wanting to have a baby. Jupiter in Taurus, looking down at the chart over here, wanting to have more growth and abundance in your emotional life and the way that you nurture. Moon, wanting to have a baby comes up because of that moon nurturing. Wanting more security, wanting growth in the way that you are able to resource yourself. This eclipse triggers you to have to take an action, and it will be uncomfortable, but do it anyway, because the actions taken, especially when they validate both of those sides of Jupiter moon and your natal moon, if it validates both of those things, means that you don't pick sides. You pick the middle path, something that is going to impact both in mutually beneficial ways. So that's how we're going to work with those 90-degree angles. The other thing I will mention is that Venus, who is the ruler or the planet that is most connected with this eclipse, because Venus is most like Taurus, and this is a Taurus eclipse. Venus, we want to look at where is Venus. Venus is going to be at 18 degrees of Virgo. Venus in Virgo. So this is, I see this almost as like an answer to find some ideas about what is the best way to work with this eclipse. We look to Venus because Venus is the most prominent planetary force that is connected to Taurus. So Venus at 18 degrees of Virgo is like wanting, longing for a strategy, wanting to have something, because Venus is how we draw things to us. It's what we value. It's how we attract those things that we value. I call Venus a code. I call it the Venus gemstone that's coded within our body, that is coded with what it is that we value, what it is that we're worth. And that's how we draw those things to us. So Venus in Virgo is the answer. So the answer would be to connect in with the patterns of nature, the patterns of your nature, and see how you can improve those patterns. The first thing that comes to mind, I wake up in the morning, I clean my mouth, I clean my skin, I do my routine to encourage and influence health and wellness in my body. I do my meditation, my pranayama breathing exercises, all the things that I learned in India. And now there's my pattern. Okay. And then I grab my phone and I do the astrology reading of the day. Do you want to do that first thing in the morning? Is that part of what is going to bring your pattern the most luxury and pleasure and make it more perfect? Because Venus in Virgo longs for perfection of your patterns. So for working with this Taurus full moon lunar eclipse, we look to Venus, who's in Virgo. Now, what you might also do is look at 18 degrees of Virgo on your own chart, see what planets that you have there, and get some ideas about how this can be beneficial for you personally and what are some things that you can do. Now that I believe is quite enough of that. Let's go ahead now and go through all 12 signs. I'm going to start off with Taurus today. I'm going to pull one card for each sign and we'll see what the medicine cards say for the eclipse. Again, I am using this is my personal favorite out of all 22 oracle decks. They say that Pisces sun people are crazy about divination, tarot cards, oracle decks, pendulums, crystal balls, you name it, I got it. It's true. This is my favorite, current favorite, I'll say. So I'll pull a card for everybody. Let's go ahead and start with Taurus. So for Taurus, this eclipse is happening in your first house, and thank God. This is it. This is the grand finale. I just felt hot because this is my rising sign. And I have Chiron right there at 5 degrees of Taurus. So it is very personal for me. So whatever you have, look at your chart between, I would say 3 to 11 to 12 degrees of Taurus. See what you have there. That planetary force is what is going to be impacted the most. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. I am going to be super attentive to you, my wonderful YouTube viewers. I'm going to be attentive to you this week, helping you through whatever is coming up. Let me know. All right, so Taurus rising. Oh, thank God. It's like the grand finale of something that has been really, really a thick and sticky eclipse cycle in your relationship axis. First house is your sense of self. Who am I? Seventh house is who are you? And it is really about the closest people that are in your most inner circle, how you work your boundaries with them. Scorpio is about boundaries as loving, healthy meeting places. So, okay, Taurus, you have this eclipse happening in your first house on the north node. There can be a huge surge of energy. Look at the planets that you have there. And when we get closer, we're close already. It's the 25th. We're three days out from this eclipse. You're probably feeling it now. This surge of energy that's going toward your sense of self. And whatever has happened over this last 2 years is finally coming. It's like we're graduating. We're getting a gift. We're getting the gift. And some of them that I mentioned a minute ago was like, oh, I've been practicing this thing and now I feel like I finally got it. And I'm getting opportunities to try them out. So you may be getting the opportunity to try out the new skills that you have learned in your relationships over this last 2 years. Some of that stuff may be coming back in double amounts for you to try out your new skills. If you haven't absolutely perfected them, don't worry, because it's an opportunity. It's just an opportunity to try it out. Also, your midheaven, which is your contribution to the world, you want to look at, that's Leo. You're getting a square from this eclipse in your Leo house, which would be in your 10th house. It could be, yeah, it depends on what house system you use. I am using the whole house system. So there can be something inflammatory that is asking you to do something different in your career. You may also find that through doing something different because of a challenge that you're having in your relationship. So it's the 7th house, not only your partner, your marriage partner, your spouse, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. It is also people who you work with, people who you serve. If you have a business or you're doing some kind of work, like what do you call this, collaboration, you have a business partner, something like that. For me, I have a whole bunch of clients because of massage and because of astrology reading. So it can be like a client relationship that something inflammatory is happening and you need to look that person in the eyes and make something else happen. Use your voice because Scorpio is holding Mercury and Mars right now. Make sure that you don't say something that you're going to regret later. Like, use some tact. And it can be challenging with a Mars and Mercury conjunction at the time of this eclipse. Matter of fact, just don't have the conversation between now and the eclipse. Wait till next week. You don't need to do it now unless you have to. And then you're in the situation, you do have to do it. Use some tact. Don't use inflammatory words or divisive, don't do that. What else? Congratulations on making it through. What I would like to do, what I do like to do, I haven't done it yet for this eclipse, is go ahead and go back through all of the eclipses that we had on the Taurus Scorpio axis, shuffling the cards for you to pull a card and see what happened. Like, what were the things that happened? What relationships had drastic changes? And what was the timeline of those things? And give yourself some credit, like really allow yourself to kind of indulge in this surge of energy that's happening in your body. Oh, but be careful because this surge of energy can also bring a lot of fluids to your body. We can get extra stagnation in our lymph nodes. And this kind of goes for everybody because Taurus rules or governs this part of our body, and the moon has to do with water, and there is a power surge. So there can be too much, and we need to keep it clean. So one of the things that I do every day is a neti pot with saline water, a nice purified water blended with warm water, blended with some salt. And then I clean my nose with that every day. You definitely want to do some dry brushing to move the lymphatic fluids. Anything you can do really to take care of your health is going to be really great. Oh, yay. So for Taurus, I got this Palo Santo card. Palo Santo is known as the guardian and removing negative energies. And actually, it's a South Node and Pluto. The card you can see there, South Node and Pluto. So there is like a removal. It's removing anything that is, I cannot stand this phrase people use, removing things that are no longer serving you, as if things are supposed to be serving you. But removing the excess. And the Palo Santo in general is like, remove anything that is negative so that you can bring more of what is good. So it's basically like that rebirth. And it looks like they have a little fox here who's having an intuitive moment. So connecting in with our animal nature, being more clever and fox-like. These really look like, so these are the leaves of the Palo Santo plant. I'd never seen those before. Definitely a connection with the ancestors, calling in that ancestral energy, calling in your guardian spirits. This card is the guardian, so your guardian spirits, your ancestors. And if you have access to Palo Santo, if you don't have access to Palo Santo, that's totally fine too. You can burn something else that's similar, but definitely burn something and have whatever is in your locale. Here in Southern California, one of the main things we have access to is all types of, I dry all types of things and burn them in bundles later. So in the removal of any of the mal-aligned, malignant energies, You're also reawakening any of your spiritual gifts, any of, I call it resurrecting gifts from the past, because this is a South Node card, and Pluto is about regeneration. So, all right, let's go ahead and move on to the next sign. So now we're going to look at Gemini rising. You are having this eclipse in your 12th house. I'm just looking down here at the chart. And the 12th house is in opposition to your 6th house. This axis is about your health, your mental health, your physical health, the wellness routines that you do to take care of your health. And so it goes from the 6th house of being the fine, minute details of taking care of your health into the 12th house, which has to do with the overall body water, the overall current of your consciousness. 12th house is also, I call it the place your dreams bubble up from. It's like your consciousness, the way that you connect with the collective consciousness. So this eclipse, you've been having this happening in your 12th house, and your 6th. This has been an ongoing thing since 2021 of bringing more energy into your 12th house. I imagine that you've probably been really increasing your ability to connect with your unconscious realms of dreams, your what they call this, your addictions, and the ways that you undo yourself, or the ways that you have gotten into some sort of a complex. And that Scorpio, which is your 6th house, there might have been a lot of changes to the way that you take care of your physical body and the ways that you do your daily routines that have impacted your habits, your addictions, and hopefully for the better, because the South Node being in your 6th house, you may have had an illness come up or something that required you to take better care of the fine details of your wellness. That also could include family pets, especially dogs, really make you have a better routine because they need things at certain times of every single day. And you have to be very meticulous with that they ate at the same time every day. They went for a walk at the same time every day, because if they don't, all sorts of problems happen and it can become very expensive. So if you don't have a pet, you will hopefully have learned that strict routine also applies to you. And the closer that you get to having a pattern of health and wellness that you are meticulously connected to, the greater that will impact your mental health, your ability to have imagination and visualize better things for yourself. Those are all 12th house things. This eclipse is also going to be by a square, by a 90-degree angle, going to be interacting with your 9th and your 3rd house. So there can be some challenges that come up around communication, around the way you think, and that's your Leo in your 3rd house, and also in your long distance travel, in your philosophies for life. So the 9th house, maybe some legal issues that can be requiring your immediate action. So let's go ahead and pull a card for Gemini rising. So the card that I got for you is Poppy, and you can see there it says dream. Poppy, who is that? Neptune and Saturn. So the thing about Poppy, you can see here, after the flower has wilted and died, there's this kind of latex drippy stuff that comes out. You can just slice it. This stuff comes out, and that is actually where we get opium. So these are opium poppies, and it is connected with the dream time. So this is not, I'm not saying to go do this or anything by any means, but You definitely can connect with poppy flowers. This is one of the main ingredients in my Awaken the Dream tea, which is a tea for achieving lucidity and becoming lucid in your dreams and being able to remember your dreams and do dream work. So my intuition is saying like, okay, yeah, definitely this is the time to go into your dream, into the dream of yourself, into your 12th house, and be able to bring some structure to that area of your life. And definitely, if you are into lucid dreaming or you know about it or you're interested in it, take this next week and practice some lucid dreaming techniques. If you need resources, I have a load of them. It's on my Instagram channel or Instagram page, Venus Gemstone. There is a whole section in the, I don't know what you call this little bar that has like all the stuff. Let me know if you need it. I can send it right over to you. But can't remember the name of those things. Anyway, there's one that says Moon Dreams, and it is full of lucid dreaming techniques. There's probably like 50 different techniques that you can try right now and they work. They are very, very beneficial. So that might be something helpful for you. Thank you so much. I hope that this eclipse is wonderful, wonderful for you. And now we're going to move on and go to, we're going to look at Cancer rising. Cancer rising, you are having this eclipse in your 11th house. So the North Node, big wave of energy is going into your 11th house, which has to do with, well, 10th house is your career and your contribution to the world and your posture, your place in the public eye. And then the 11th house is the gifts that you get from that. It can be income generated from your public persona. The 11th house is also goals, dreams, and aspirations, and the peers, the people that are also sharing those dreams with you. They're not so much friends as much as they are peers. So it's like, I call this the conference room full of people. So whatever conference you're going to, the like-minded people who are also at that conference will be found in the 11th house. So this eclipse is at 5 degrees in your 11th house. Scorpio sun, which every single year during Scorpio season, your 5th house is illuminated. So this time of year, all the time, you're going to be much more flirtatious and fun and creative and on the center stage. So this Scorpio season always illuminates that I love the 5th house. I love it. It's like your creativity, your inner child coming out to play. Now, the eclipse being in your 11th house is bringing some benefits. It's bringing some power surge to congratulate you. It's like the grand finale of everything that you have been working on within your creative self-expression and sharing that in your peer group. The question that I asked for the 11th house is, who am I to my community? That is, for the 5th house being the focal point on my inner child's creative expression. And then the 11th house is it's all those people who you are showing that part of yourself to, how you're showing up in the conference room of all your peers, your peer group. So this eclipse can be very like highlighting the ways that you are now coming all the way out with your creative self-expression and making a bigger impact in your peer group, which can increase the income, the gifts, the rewards from the 10th house. So let's go ahead and pull a card for you. Okay, and the card that comes out is Hibiscus. And let's see, that is a Venus and Pluto card. And it says joy. Hibiscus, I love hibiscus. I use it a lot for hair growth and for heart health. What is this saying? So Venus, and she definitely looks very Venusian, doesn't she, with the flowers in her hair? There's hummingbird around. So with those hummingbirds, it's like has to do with the nectar, collecting nectar, spreading. So you can see there's some energy coming out, spreading out through the community. The hibiscus flower is used for so many different things. Like I mentioned, I use it in a heart tonic that I have. I use it for hair growth. It's also an astringent and can be used to tighten up tissues. So it was used by some in some cultures for tightening the uterus, which brings that component of Venus. Also with beauty, because of it stimulates hair growth. So that those are some of the Venus connections. And Pluto. So I had to look it up, like, why is Pluto connected with that? And what I read in this handy little book is that there's a connection to Kali, which is a goddess of death and transformation. So that brings in the Pluto aspects of that. Also, I know in Mexico, hummingbirds have to do with um, the warrior spirits. So the spirits of warriors who died in battle, who return as hummingbirds to enjoy their life collecting nectar. It didn't mention that in the book, but I did remember that with the teachings of hummingbird. So that looks to me like your 11th house is really getting the gifts of what you have experienced from the transformation, removal of some of the ways you used to express your inner child, or maybe you weren't expressing your inner child creativity with the South Node going through Scorpio in your 5th house for the last 2 years or so. All right, so thank you so much. Let's go ahead and move on to Leo. So for Leo, you are having, or the Leo rising, you are having this eclipse in your 10th house of public persona, contribution to the world, the way you show up, the way people who don't really know you, the way that they think about you, what they know about you. So it's like you in the spotlight. That is where you're having this eclipse at 5 degrees in your 10th house. And that means that the sun is going through your 4th house of home and roots. And it has been going through your 4th house of home and roots for the last 2 years. So there might have been a lot of changes to the South Node being in your 4th house, to the way that you take care of your physical body, the way that you rest your nervous system, because that 4th house, South Node being your 4th house, may have been removing some of the ways that you weren't taking care of your health, your physical body, your relaxation is why I mentioned nervous system. I've been super consumed. I will even say obsessed with nervous system health. So the South Node being going through that 4th house may have removed a lot of your ways that you used to tend to your health of your body, your connection with the wombs you come from. So your mother, your home of origin, and the way you create home for yourself, the way that you create a sanctuary for yourself. And now the grand finale is showing up in your, not only your work, not only your contribution to the world, but also how those people see you. This can be a big change to your public persona. Maybe you're announcing that you're engaged, or that you're getting married, or you're having a child. Taurus up there with Jupiter and Uranus there's an extra fertility abundance coming through your 10th house. And with the North Node being on this side of the eclipse, there is a surge of energy going toward your public persona. You don't like attention? I'm so sorry. You're going to be getting a lot of attention with this eclipse there. So let's go ahead and pull a card for you. I love these medicine cards because you can actually use the medicine. You can get some of the plants, or you can just look at pictures of the plants and connect with their essence, with the spirit of the plant. You don't necessarily have to grab it. Oh, wow. So this card I get is coca, the coca leaves. So you can have a peek at that. And what does that say? Uranus and Venus. Wow, that is so appropriate because Venus being the ruler of this eclipse in your 10th house, possibly this has something to do with femininity, with beauty, with pleasure, something with your relationship status changing. And Uranus is unexpected changes and something innovative that, okay, let's look at coca for a minute. In Peru, the shamans chew on the coca leaves to connect with the way I see Uranus as us in our body being able to, it's beyond our body. It's beyond Saturn's rings. Saturn's rings kind of end here. And then so anything beyond Saturn is beyond, but it's not disconnected. It's like a stream of consciousness that connects us to all of consciousness. That's a Uranian energy. So this is like, and I do want to look at the book on this because I have never tasted coca. I have received teachings with this plant through a person that I was working with from Peru. But let's go ahead. Let me look at the card really quick. Okay, I just love this so much. It's saying that it's connecting you to supernatural powers, your spiritual guidance, your integrity, and there's a really good message in here that I would like to share. And it says that the spirit rewards you, the spirit of the coca leaf, it rewards you that you kept your integrity and that you didn't give it away. Don't reject your innate gifts, cultivate them, and don't shy away from your magnificent power. And that is so perfect for Leo rising. And so that we're able to see you, so that you are showing up in all of your spiritual gifts. Also, I know that for Leo rising, sometimes it can be so much more isolated to just how you look and how, you know, there can be a layer of that. So being able to, with this eclipse, let that shine, let your spiritual gifts shine in the way that we all see you. All right, so thank you so much. Happy eclipse. Let's move on to the next sign. Oh, hello, Virgo rising. You are having this eclipse in your 9th house of spirituality, your beliefs, your philosophies that you live by, and also connections that you might have with legalities, with some legal things that you might have going on. That means that this Scorpio will have been in your 3rd house. And so there's a south node going through your 3rd house for the last 2 years, a removal of energy connected with your siblings, with that brief interactions that you have that give you the ideas of what you believe about yourself. And then the north node being in the 9th house, this eclipse is going through your 9th house, bringing an excessive amount of energy, because the north node being in the 9th house is wanting you to evolve and progress, to make progress in your belief systems, in your spirituality, or if you have an affiliation with law groups or higher education, college, universities, or if you have affiliation with religious groups. There's a big change that has been going on in that area of your life. And at this eclipse, there is the grand finale, the gifts that you're receiving, and the power surge that's going into your ninth house. How can that be playing out for you? Virgo rising loves to have their patterns being to make sense and to be on the way to perfecting and to know what all is going on and how to make that better. So having a eclipse in the ninth house, it can be bringing gifts of the completion of what you have experienced in other countries, in your faraway travels, in your higher education, bringing a completion. It's kind of like gathering up everything that you've ever learned and all the places that you've gone and putting it into this package that is allowing you to move on to, like, you don't need the books anymore. I remember when we got out of a very intensive 1,000-hour, oh, there's your card. Got Rosemary. When we were coming out of our intensive massage training program, one of my friends was like, 2 years later, she was like, I am throwing, we had so much materials, handouts, and learning all the anatomy and physiology. It was so much material. I still have mine. It's a whole box plus a whole binder. And I remember her like, I'm throwing this all away. I got it. I don't need the reference materials anymore. So it's kind of like that, like everything that you've already studied and learned, it's like, you got it. Do you really need to keep all of the details of all the homework assignments and tests that you've completed and the legal paperwork? You can possibly graduate now. So Rosemary has to do with ancient memory. Is so perfect. So it's a Sun and Mercury card. And lovely enough, Sun and Mercury are in your third house in Scorpio. Let me just double check there. Yes, the third house in Scorpio. Okay, so rosemary. I personally use rosemary it's also in my hair growth oil. Rosemary is known as a protector. So there's so many different ways that I personally have used rosemary. But it does have a connection to Mother Mary, to the Magdalene. And I think about Rose and the secrets of Rose as Mary. So because this has a connection to the Sun and Mercury, and it says here, ancient memory, there can be some, like I mentioned, everything that you've already experienced being gathered up. And you can see here the spirit of an ancestor back here. I guess that's showing us about the ancientness of these memories and being able to fully embody them. You can see she's got her wand here with a crystal directing energy down toward the earth, and there looks like that bundle of rosemary there, which I believe is a symbol of faithfulness, steadfast, like being committed is the word I'm looking for. Committed. So what are you committed to? What is it that you're remembering and becoming embodied, like letting those memories become part of your body and your everyday expression? There is also this like intuition connection where we're grabbing not only the ancient memories, but we're also connecting with that solar power, which has to do with foresight and our ability to use our intuition. So that is for you, Virgo rising, so virgin-like with that Mary figure there. So thank you, Virgo rising. Happy eclipse to you. Now we're going to move on to Libra rising. Libra rising, you are having this eclipse in your 8th house, meaning that the South Node has been in your 2nd house. So there has been a removal, a purification, a release of energy in what made you feel secure? That's the second house. You may have noticed that there was a reduction in what you thought you needed to be secure. Maybe you realize you don't need a big screen TV. I'm just looking at the chart really quick, thinking of Scorpio in the second house. Maybe you don't need the big screen TV and the fancy whatever, like the excess may have been trimmed there. So now with the North Node going in to this eclipse, the power surge going into the 8th house, a grand finale, this eclipse cycle for the last 2 years, typically 18 months, but we had the first eclipse November of 2021. That's why I'm saying 2 years. But now that has been going on in your 8th house, bringing an excessive amount of energy to your legacy money, that's inheritance or money that you have from previous life, meaning the life of your people before you, either grandparents, parents. Legacy wealth is not isolated to just money. It can be things. It can be the jade necklace that your grandma left you that's worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, depending on how ancient it is. Or it can be the property that was left, or the inheritance in the way of money. And it can also be inheritance that you received as spiritual gifts, as physical features about you that you inherited from your legacy. So now with this eclipse going through there, it is a grand finale, giving you a gift of all the things that you have worked on with your resources, how you resource yourself, and bringing in extra energy into the 8th house might look like you receiving something in the form of an inheritance. Wouldn't that be wonderful? And you will you notice it? Because the 8th house has a connection with the invisible, the energetic things that maybe you need to tune in a little bit to listen to see where you're receiving that inheritance. Let's go ahead and pull a card for you, Libra rising. And you've had Jupiter there. Jupiter is expanding. Jupiter has been expanding your access to receiving your legacy wealth. Well, that was a definite, this one just flew right out, and I love this so much. It's a Chiron card, dandelion. It's called the Wounded Healer, but oh wow, look at how beautiful. I love dandelion. This is a main ingredient in my chai and everything that I have that is for the liver, because look at how beautiful this is, like innervating. When I see this, it just really makes me think of our liver. Okay, so dandelion. You can also see these beautiful, I don't know if you as a kid would blow on those and watch them go everywhere. So they're with Chiron, with Jupiter. There is a connection to something that has been challenging, that has made you feel insecure or brought out your insecurities, because that connection with Chiron is like what hurts you ends up also being medicine for others. So this is like when your wound becomes medicine. That the way I'm seeing this is like being able to expand so much that you're sharing your gift and all the little seeds of the wisdom that you've received through healing your own wounds goes out and expands out into the world. And as you can see, the dandelions going through their cycle, going through the different stages that they would go through. So in the way that those seeds are spreading out, it's like from that taproot, you can see there with the dandelion's taproot being that legacy, your ancestors, where you come from, that your gifts are being able to be spread out and your seeds are being able to go out and help in the healing process of others. So anything else from this dandelion? It also says wounds as tools to awaken your healing journey and to heal your inner child. So it looks like this eclipse can be very helpful for you in your regeneration. So the eighth house is actually associated with regeneration, how you are part of a generation of your legacy and how you will also be the next, you know, maybe in some way creating through life a child or somehow expanding the legacy. So thank you so much, Libra rising. I wish you a very wonderful and healing experience of this eclipse. And now we're going to move on from Libra. I'm just scrolling through here. I know the next house, but for some reason I need to look. So after Libra is Scorpio, and obviously that's going to be the seventh house. So for Scorpio, the seventh house is where you are having this power surge. You are also another one who is probably so grateful that this is a finale of these eclipses going through your first and seventh house. Your relationships have probably shifted dramatically, and your own sense of self being where the south node is, you may have fallen into some of your old karmic patterning, some of your old conditioning, and shown how those things are or are not beneficial, and have a lot of removal of things happening in your first house. Your sense of self, the way your physical body looks, the way that you perceive yourself. And now the seventh house, having this surge of energy, can be really upgrading, really enhancing your relationships, and maybe even the people in your life upgrading themselves. I am thinking of such a strong example of somebody who I know who has Scorpio rising, who is in my group and who I am going to have a talk with, that is going to require some advancement or some changes to happen. So like that, you may be noticing that some people in your, either that you're working with, that you're partnered with, or that you are in love with, because the seventh house can be marriage, spouse, marriage partner, relationship partner. It can also be business partner or clients, customers, people that you're sharing resources and wealth and abundance with. So having that north node there can be, you can receive an influx here, which is going to enhance your relationships, which will enhance, and it's a progressive thing because the north node is here. I see this as, I mean, all of this eclipse seems very beneficial because it's so close to Jupiter, bringing fertility, abundance, good luck, good blessings, good fortune. So in the seventh house, this for you, Scorpio rising, can be really allowing you to show up in your relationships in a totally clean, clear, evolved way, with all of your magnificence of your ability to work with energy. Scorpio rising is here to master. I call it the manipulation of energy, but it's not like manipulating. It's like what I had mentioned earlier, where I was like, oh yeah, my thing that I've been working with is like allowing myself to feel this energy and not need to be reactive, but to allow the energy moving through my body to revitalize me and to be a healing thing, that I'm able to grab that energy and use it in a productive way. That is a manipulation of energy, and that is what Scorpio rising is here to be the master of, to feel the emotions and let the emotional energy move and revitalize you and give you more power so that you can be more of that magnificence that you are here to be in the world, showing us how to maneuver and dance with the energies that are moving through our bodies. Okay, so Scorpio rising. Let me also just, I know I didn't mention this part for everybody, but you are also having Leo in your 10th house. So that is going to be a square. So this eclipse is also going to be challenging something about your public persona, something about how you are seen, your reputation. You want to make sure that whatever is happening in your relationships this week, especially being a grand finale of a 2-year situation that's been going on as you've been evolving this part of your life with the nodes of fate, that you want to make sure that you are, I don't want to say protecting your reputation, but keep your reputation in mind at this eclipse and take actions that are mutually beneficial to your relationships and to your reputation and your contribution to the world. I love this. Is so perfect. Valerian root. This is one of my heroes right now for nervous system regulation. The card is called Acceptance, and you can see Neptune figured up there in the glyph. So it's a Neptune card having to do with, ooh, it looks so stormy up there where there's that physical body and you can see the clouds and this energy coming down, touching the mountains. Valerian root is a nervine. It is a nervine. You can see these kind of look like electricity, and it's pushing downward. It's pushing downward. There's a little mouse here too, which I want to look at what all the symbols of this means. But basically, it's like you on top of your nervous system, and there's a grounding that's happening. Valerian root is very grounding. It is very connected to the dream time, allowing us a greater sense of stability of our nervous systems. The medicine that I am, it's on my bedside shelf right now because I'm working with it so heavily every night. It's called nervous system regulation, and it is to put a cap on it. It's a nightcap, literally, to like bring the nervous system into a state of regulation where it's not up here anymore and you're not, it's like, bring it down. Let those nerves just settle into the body and not be so on the top, you know, like this. Instead of being up here, they are down here. So yeah, this to me is saying to go ahead and take a break, to let your nervous system rest, to hang upside down because we got those valerian root plants drying and they're hanging upside down. So what this card is saying is to zoom out, get some rest. Don't be so focused on the details. Allow yourself to take a nap, take a break. Let the process happen. And this is a just kind of a general over the full spectrum of all the zodiac signs. We don't need to do things during eclipses. Eclipses are big energies that are happening. It is the time where I would say this is happening to us, for us, but it is extreme. It is a big happening. So to allow your body to rest, to let the process do what it does. Okay, so now we're going to be moving on to Sagittarius. Sagittarius. So this was the 7th house. That means Sagittarius is going to be in the 6th house. I know you guys are just waiting for me to finally just do that because I shouldn't need to look at it, but I do. So just to make sure, double check. Yes, Sagittarius rising, you are experiencing this eclipse in your 6th house. That means that the South Node has been going through your 12th house. So there may have been a big removal of all of your old habits, your old patterns, your old addictions. Who doesn't love a south node in the 12th house to remove the ways that we have been undoing ourselves and our unconscious habits and patterns? The south node in that 12th house is, I think it's very welcome to, like, let's just shake the rug out, and let some of that loosen up, some of our old karmic patternings and conditioning, so that there is more energy flowing into the 6th house. Yay. North node in the 6th house brings an influx of new health routines. Maybe you met a new therapist, a new counselor, a new health nutritional counselor, a new massage therapist, or somebody that you've been working with that's helping you with your daily routines. There has been a great amount of positive changes happening in your physical wellness routines. So for Sagittarius rising, let's pull a card for you. Oh, there it is. And we got Mugwort. Mugwort, psychic healing. And this is a Neptune and Moon card. Mugwort, you can see the owl there. So beautiful. So Mugwort, the first experience that I had with Mugwort, John Finch over here in Ocean Beach called this for epic dreams. And it was like the dream pillows that we made in herb school way back when. Mugwort is a main ingredient also in my lucid dream tea, because it does have a connection with the dream time. As you can see, both Neptune and the moon are planetary influences with Mugwort. Mugwort is also like a great draining of draining fluids, excessive fluids from the body. You can see Owl here, who is kind of a keeper, a wisdom keeper of the dream time, being able to see in a 360-degree, connected with the night, nocturnal things. Looks like there's a mirror there that is kind of like a time zone changer, time warp kind of thing. So for you, Sagittarius, oh my gosh, and this is perfect because it does have a connection to your 12th house, and you're having this eclipse in your 6th house. So it looks like the changes that have been made in your unconscious material, your dream time, have greatly impacted your ability to manage a certain cycle, a certain pattern and routine in your daily health. So congratulate yourself for whatever workout routines you've been getting into, whatever cleanse or detox thing that you did, whatever therapy you went to, and the reward is great health. Great, whatever happens in the unconscious, in the 12th house, in the waters of our reality, will always make us better in our daily habits and the things that we're doing on a daily basis. So happy eclipse and congratulations for making it through that. Now we're going to move to Capricorn rising. Capricorn rising is having this eclipse in the 5th house. That means the South Node has been going through your 11th house, doing a little cleansing of your goals, dreams, and aspirations. Possibly your peer group has changed in this last 2 years. Maybe something that people that you were connecting with because of the goals, dreams, and aspirations that you had have changed. You have changed in who you are to the community. And through those changes, you now have an excessive amount of energy flowing through your 5th house, creative inner child expression, which has given you a new passion for life. I love the 5th house. I absolutely love the 5th house. So with this Taurus lunar eclipse happening in your 5th house, I would love to see what you made, to see your art, to see the changes that have happened from your goals changing. And I'm like, oh, Taurus, I want to hear you sing. I want to hear the poem that you wrote. I want to experience those changes. So please you can leave me a link in my comments section to let me see you and let me see what changes that you've made. And I want to see your art. Okay, or whatever it is that you have let your inner child come out in such a huge advancement. And these things will be continuing on as we have Jupiter here. And you know what? When Jupiter is at that 5-degree point for a whole month, from January 15th, no, December 15th to January 15th, Jupiter will be standing there expanding that for you. Like whatever it is that you have been working on in your self-expression, in your passionate self-expression, this is going to be greatly enhanced this year into next year. And especially when we have Jupiter and Uranus conjunction, I think it's April 8th or April 14th. I don't remember the exact day in April 2024 that Jupiter and Uranus make their once in our lifetime conjunction that's in Taurus. So is that once? Yes. So anyway, let's pull a card for you, Capricorn. By the way, I love Capricorn rising. I love Capricorn as an archetype because I love the way that Capricorn is a wonderful not disciplinary force as much as a wisdom keeper. I call Capricorn the circle of grandmothers because of that connection to knowing the rules and knowing how to grow corn and making sure that whatever we're doing has a stable, practical influence in our life. Okay, so Damiana, woohoo! I love this plant. It is native to Mexico, and it is a Venus and Pluto plant. This is in, I use Damiana. It was one of my first medicine teachers actually was Damiana. I found Damiana for the first time in person. I would say I met Damiana in Kauai this year and made a tincture with Damiana and rose. It's an aphrodisiac, known as an aphrodisiac, meant to soften us into this wild animal body so that we're able to feel and be sensitized to our own sensual experience. So fifth house. So fifth house. And there is a transformative effect here because it is a Pluto card. Damiana, she writes this as the beloved. So it's us in relationship, and for you in relationship to your audience, me, I hope, because I want to see what you're doing. So this chalice is pouring a sort of magical water. It's like watering the love that you have for you, yourself, your beloved audience, because it's your fifth house. I also see Raven up there, and there's wings around these two. So I actually do want to look at what she says about this card, and I will report that to you. Let's go over this together. Magnetism, attraction, soulmates, relationships, sacred play, fifth house, and finding the beloved within. This so much of what my book The Alchemy of Intimacy is about. Finding the beloved within. It's the union of your Venus and Mars within yourself, and that greatly influences and enhances the relationship that you can have with your beloved person. Okay, so this guidance says that it represents the universal principle of the beloved within yourself. The alchemy of the polarity is what we're made of, and the integration of opposites births the beloved. This card represents the journey of coming together and reuniting within yourself. Damiana reminds us of the importance of shaking off rigidity that depletes our creative reserves and depletes our sacred play. So basically, play, have fun, love yourself, connect with your inner beloved, dance, romance yourself or your outer beloved. Okay, so thank you so much, Capricorn rising. Wishing you a wonderful eclipse and some sensual, passionate play. Okay, so now Aquarius rising, you are having this eclipse in your fourth house. I guess you don't need to see that, but the eclipse is in your fourth house, which means that the south node has been going through your 10th house. Now, Aquarius rising, your 10th house has been going through a very intense process of removal, maybe resurrection. Maybe there's been some things that you used to do in your contribution to the world or in the way that you are known that came back. Maybe there was some things that came back. Something that you used to be known for that came back into your life, or definitely things have been changing there. And a way of removal, because the south node is a removal, so that there can be more emphasis of energy going into your home, in your family life, your rest, your rejuvenation. And this eclipse in your fourth house is likely to be bringing gifts of completion into your womb, into your, maybe even your relationship with your mother, your connection to your home of origin, your connection to your ancestors and the land you come from. And your card just popped right out of the deck. Dragon's blood, Anima Mundi, which is the soul of the world. I love dragon's blood. So we can see this is a moon and Pluto card. This is a protective energy, and this is a resin. I know it can be made into medicine. I've only used it as a resin and burned it. Dragon's blood. And what is the name of the tree? Let me look up the name of the tree and report back to you about that. Sangre de Drago. So the sangre is the blood. It looks like blood. And actually, the resin itself really looks just like blood. And what she writes is this card has to do with merging with the divine, accessing the world soul. Okay, so your fourth house is like the soul of your world. It is where you come from, it is the ancestors and the lands that you come from. An invitation to occult knowledge and an entry into the void, which it feels very fourth house to me, those things. Okay, so it's used to prevent bleeding. Dragons are ancient guardians of the earth, symbolizing hidden knowledge and auspicious powers of supernatural origin. This represents the collective blood, the blood of nature, serving as a gateway to the anima mundi, or the world soul. As you enter an all-seeing portal, don't shy away from the vastness. Embrace it as you are undergoing this great initiation. You will discover the unique pattern you contribute to the tapestry of life. So it looks like this card is giving you some real soulful connection into your regenerative powers in your fourth house. So enjoy that, Aquarius rising, and I look forward to seeing you next month for your reading. Now we're going to look at Pisces. So Pisces rising for this eclipse. Hello, Sarah. I know you're watching this. Okay, so for Pisces rising, you are having this eclipse grand finale in your third house, which means that in your ninth house, you have been undergoing a process of removal, of cleansing, possibly resurrecting some of your old beliefs, some of your old spiritual teachings that you received. Something maybe could have been, you may have been finding something old buried in you with this south node process going through your ninth house. And most likely it's been a lot of removal of education that you had, college education, higher education, things that you were indoctrinated into with your education or with your spiritual upbringing or your religious upbringing. A lot of those things have been removed, which can be, it can leave you feeling spiritually vulnerable. South node in Scorpio in the ninth house means that that vulnerability and the loss of some of those things is offering more energy going into your third house to receive new ideas, new perceptions, new interactions. And also you may have moved, because the third house changes your local community. That change, because the north node has been there, it's like stimulating some new momentum going through there. So those brief interactions that you have at the grocery store, at the herb shop, at the garden store, now they're different because it's a different herb shop, grocery store, and garden store. It's different because you may have moved, you may have started shopping in a different part of town. You may have been taking those short trips in a different way with a different attitude. Maybe you're dressing different or showing up different in some kind of a way. So as this North Node lunar eclipse is going through your third house, there is a culmination, a gift that you are receiving of energy that is giving you new ideas, new insights, a new way to view yourself in the world. There is greater fertility and abundance, innovations happening. And next year in April, when we have Jupiter Uranus conjuncting in your third house, this is going to really open up your ability to receive information and to share, to communicate that information. And because you're a Pisces rising, it is going to be with empathy, with love, with your psychic abilities, those downloads, as us Pisces archetypes like to talk about, because it's information that we feel and that we're receiving. Now it's going to be being able to now receive and share. Okay, so let's pull a card for you. Pisces rising. If you don't have this deck, why? Because it is just so great to add to your, because you're a Pisces rising, probably your growing collection of divination tools. This deck is so wonderful. I really love it. So we're getting a card for Pisces rising. Motherwort, look at this. I love Motherwort. It is such a strong medicine for everything related to the waters of our body, our womb. This is okay, we have Venus here. Venus being, okay, she says strength, and we've got the lion up there also. So it's not your everyday Venus in the way of just attracting and drawing to us. It's also Venus in the form of, are we in that? Yeah, we are actually in a Leo overtone right now. So the Venus cycle is in a Leo overtone. And you can see that these look like a lion's tail. So Pisces being connected with the water, that's good for you in connection to your Pisces rising. And then this plant is one that, for me personally, that I just having it around me, I feel like it is helping my mothering, my womb, my waters. So with this in your third house, motherwort, maybe work with this card, maybe not the card, maybe work with this plant, maybe just even get yourself a little 4-ounce bag of it, have it with you, carry it with you, maybe drink some of the tea, and let this be part of your spirit guide team for your eclipse, and maybe for the next 6 months as you're going through the culmination of what this full moon is, which will be discovered when we get to Taurus season. I was like, wait, when? Taurus season, when we have the new moon in Taurus. So thank you so much. I wish you a wonderful eclipse. And now we're going to be moving on to Aries rising. Aries rising, you are having this eclipse in your second house. Second house has to do with your security. When you feel secure, you are able to make love, to receive goodness, to be in your sensual body, to have your senses open, to be sensually sensitive. And when you're not feeling secure, there's a whole list of other things that happen. And so, second house is about security and how you generate resources that help you feel secure. So, it's known as a money house, but it is so much more than a money house. It is your security house. So, the second house being tangible goods, things that help, it's the way that you are resourced. Since you are having this eclipse there, that means that the eighth house has had a south node eclipse going on, meaning that there's been a removal of energy in your eighth house, which has to do with legacy wealth, the wealth that you don't have access to. So it's like the gold coins that you have locked up in a vault somewhere in another part of the world, or the property that is in your name, but it's 3,000 miles away, or the inheritance that you know you will receive upon arrival of your parents' body to the spirit realm. It's that kind of wealth. It is, and it's also your spiritual inheritance from, I always talk about my cheekbones because I love them, and my face looks so much like my grandma, who was a Louisiana Creole, African American, or what was known as mulatto, and we look so much alike. And so I love that, and that is part of my inheritance. So what is your inheritance from your ancestors, from those who came before you? And there's been a removal of energy there. So there may have been some things, maybe things that you thought you were going to receive. Aries rising people, I was just thinking, was that person an Aries rising? Because I had somebody recently who thought they were going to receive legacy wealth and then they didn't. And they had been counting on that. So, and it doesn't have to be that extreme. It can just be over this last 2 years, you may have been noticing some of the ways that you were connected with your ancestors and the legacy wealth and your inheritance and the emotional energy tied up in the dead, your emotional energy tied up in the realm of the dead, and not just your dead people in your life, but also things leaving and dying and the energy around that. The eighth house also has a great connection to our emotional energy. I used to call this death, sex, music, like stuff that is not there. You can't tangibly touch it. It's the energy of a thing. Okay. So stuff has been leaving in that area of your life so that there can be this influx of energy, influx of things, influx of you noticing where you are resourced, things that you have on hand. This maybe doesn't pertain to you, but it came to mind. I remember when I was like, oh, lithium quartz, that is a valuable thing. And I have lepidolite. And then so for a little while, I was like collecting lepidolite stones, because like, this has lithium in it. This must be valuable. All the crystals that, like, I remember thinking that, like, are these even valuable? I paid money. I know there certain ones are more expensive than others. Could this be something that might be valuable at some point for who knows what? So those things that you find value in things. Maybe it's tangible things. Maybe it's your silver and your gold collection, your coins that you have, or maybe it is your friend groups, or that you realize something valuable about yourself, some skills that you have, something that you can do with your hands that maybe either through bartering, which is a trading, which is like, I have corn, you have chayotes, and let's trade. So we both have corn and we both have chayote squash. I grow corn and chayote squash. So maybe I have that and you have avocados, because my avocado trees never produce fruit. Maybe we're going to trade. This is a resource that we have on hand because of our ability to do things with our hands. So you, Aries rising, are finding so many things in your life that have great value that you may have overlooked before. And at the time of this eclipse, those things are coming front and center, and you are really receiving a huge benefit that will just continue to grow because Jupiter is in this second house of yours. It's just going to continue to grow and bring more abundance into your life. Let's pull a card for you. And lemon balm. Oh my God, sweet Melissa Officialis. I love lemon. Have I not loved? Has there been any card that I haven't been like, oh my God, I love this card? Okay, well, lemon balm, I love. This was one of the plants that helped me get off of, what was that? I was going to start shuffling again. That was the antidepressant medication that I was on. Lemon balm was something that I used to get off of the, is that Wellbutrin, or I can't remember. It's been it was like 2000. Actually, you know when that was the last time the nodal axis was exactly as it is set up now. So we're going to talk more about that nodal axis because 19 years ago, 18 to 19 years ago, that's when I was on these meds for mood things. That stuff will be coming up again, but we'll talk about that another day. So lemon balm anyway is wonderful for helping to, it does so much things. So it's like connecting the gut and the mind so that we're having a clarity in the gut. It improves digestion in a way that is so magical, so much better than most of the digestive remedies, through increasing circulation and blood flow in the gut, which helps to clear the mind, which guess what that does? Helps to clear the mood. So let's see what she says. She calls this nurture. And you can see the beautiful lemon balm. I'll show this to you. I believe lemon balm is part of the mint family because those leaves do look very minty, don't they? And who is that? Is that Ceres up there? It looks like Ceres with the hook. Yes, I do believe that's, I'm going to check for you. But it looks like Ceres and Jupiter. So Ceres being the goddess of the grain, which does have to do with nurturance, food, sustenance. It's a mothery type of energy. Lemon balm has this beautiful woman holding a tray about to serve you. Her staff looks a little mushroomish to me. Lemon balm, Melissa Officialis. Earth Mother, access to the ways of the earth, planetary guardian, balance of feelings and emotions. Yes, and the astrological ruler is Ceres. So I wonder why. Let's see. Okay, guidance. Give yourself permission to mother the deepest core of yourself. Listen to your inner child. Retrieve the unconscious parts of your past. Forgive yourself. Liberate your inner child. Lemon balm assists us in reconnecting to the gentle powers of nurturance. The great mother in all her shapes and forms. The medicine of the honeybee is here to serve you, promoting you to ask yourself, where can I soften and receive? How can I access my inner child? Honeybees symbolize the magic of nectar, vitality, prosperity, and the great inner and outer wealth that is ahead. All right, so that all sounds very wonderful. I hope you enjoy that. So thank you so much. Enjoy all of this eclipse abundance that we're going to be experiencing. And if the abundance becomes a little too much, don't be too surprised because Jupiter is there and that might be a little too much. So you can always retreat to whatever area of your chart is most retreatable for you. What I would say, retreat to the opposite, actually, or to the opposite, meaning that if like Taurus is your first house, maybe you go into a seventh house Scorpio type of retreat. If it becomes too much, also look to Venus and look to your own Venus to find out how you can find the answer. The answer for the eclipse is in Venus, meaning that Venus is the ruler of this eclipse. So yeah, look to luxury, look to pleasure, look to comfort if it becomes too much of a power surge. Thank you so much for staying with me for this very long eclipse reading. I look forward to connecting with you very soon. Happy eclipse and wishing you all the best.